welcome back. Today I want to talk about how to read a nutrition fact label. And so I'm going to bring out a food that we can all probably identify with and have eaten in our lives. Frozen pizza. I want to talk about frozen pizza because a lot of times when we think making healthy food choices, frozen pizza is not an item that's going to come to mind. But the truth is, this is something we eat often in my house. So I just want to go through how I decide what kind of frozen pizza I'm going to buy and serve to my family. The first thing I'm going to look at are the nutrition facts label. So at the top of the nutrition facts label, the first thing we're going to look at are the calories. Honestly, I don't get too worked up about the calorie number because again, it's really just energy. And for children especially, we don't want to restrict energy. We want to promote eating healthy. So the calories in one slice of pizza is 280, which I feel totally fine with a kid eating for lunch. 280 calories of pizza. And then I can supplement it with things that are lower in calories like fresh fruits and vegetables. More important than the calories though is where they're coming from. So the two things I'm going to look at next are the fat content and then the added sugar content. So in this pizza, there's 6 grams of fat, which is 7% of an adult's daily diet. And the saturated fat is 2.5 grams, which is 14%. So it's a little high in saturated fat, but again, it doesn't mean we can't eat it. It just means I'm gonna keep that in mind and maybe not give my kid potato chips when they're also eating this pizza. Now I just jumped down to the added sugars. There's no added sugar in this, which is great, and there's only 3 grams of total sugar. So because it's pizza, I'm gonna assume this is coming from the tomatoes or maybe some of the, I'm gonna assume it's coming from the tomatoes. There's a total of 3 grams of sugar, none of it's added, so I feel really good about that. The next thing I always look at is the sodium content. I talked a lot about why sodium is something we want to try to reduce a lot in our diets, and it does tend to come in things like frozen food. So not surprisingly, this thing has 530 milligrams of sodium. Very, very high in sodium. It doesn't mean I'm not gonna eat it. It means I'm not gonna send my kid 2 slices because then they'd be over 1,000 milligrams of sodium, which is more than they need in a day. So I'm gonna send 1 slice and I'm gonna be mindful that my kid is getting a lot of sodium from the pizza. So again, the snacks that I send with the pizza are gonna be a little low in sodium or hopefully not have any sodium at all. And again, lower in saturated fat. Then I like to check the protein content because protein is really important for kids. It helps them feel full throughout the day. If I'm sending a lunch, I want to make sure my kid is eating it and that they're feeling full. And surprisingly, there's 13 grams of protein in 1 slice of this pizza, which I think is a really good number to aim for a lunch bout. So let's just break down what we've looked at so far. Pizza, there's no added sugar. It's a little high in saturated fat. It's really high in sodium. It's not over the daily limit, but it's high. And it's high in protein. So far, this is a pretty good part of a balanced meal. The last thing I'm going to take a quick peek at are the micronutrients. The iron, the vitamin D, the calcium, and the potassium. Just to see where we're standing on these. So not surprisingly, there is 0 vitamin D in this pizza. Again, vitamin D generally comes from things like fish and it's added into dairy. It's not really going to show up in your pizza. There is 15% of the daily requirement of calcium, which I love that because again, there's cheese, yay. And the iron is actually at 15% too. So those are both things that our kids should be having, and I like numbers that are higher than 10. So 15 is good. Potassium is a little bit low, as we would expect. Again, potassium tends to come from fruits and vegetables, which we're not getting in this pizza. So that's at 4%. So now what am I gonna do with this information? I'm gonna say, yeah, let's do pizza for lunch. But I know that my kids are now high in fat, super high actually in sodium, and very low in vitamin D and in potassium. So what would I serve with this pizza? Probably some fresh fruits and veggies, maybe a salad that might include something like spinach, something that's leafy and dark that's going to help supplement some of those lacking nutrients, and it's also going to be low in sodium and low in saturated fat. And for a snack, I might send something that's a little sweet because again, this has no added sugar, but it is a little high in the saturated fat. So just to keep everything in balance, maybe they would get something like a granola bar, which is higher in the added sugar, but lower in the saturated fat. I'm coming back next week to go through another nutrition facts label and to walk through the process of how I make food decisions. If you have a food that you'd like to go through, drop it below in the comments and I'll be sure to take a look at it. See you guys next week.